And we are live and in color, and we have our special guest again today. I'm your host, Ted White, in Honolulu, Hawaii. We have our very eloquent guest and wise counselor, Dr. Richard Proctor, with us this morning. Good morning, Doctor. Please tell us some.
Good morning. Good to be here. Good to be here, Ted.
Excuse me.
Oh,
So, tell us about the Constitution and the Electoral College, please. How we elect the president according to the Constitution, if we are doing that, or how we supposed to do it.
okay. Now, I'm reading from this book, which is a real Constitution, trying to get it focused. It's a real Constitution. You guys know all about it. I'm
Yeah.
looking at Article 2. Article 2 talks about election, the president, and that kind of stuff. Starts out by the electors. Says each state shall appoint electors, however they want to do it. And then it says how many, and it's per senator and representative. Now, we'll start with what the electors are supposed to do. Now, this is right out of the book. There's no changes to this. The electors shall meet in their respective states. Is that clear? That means they don't meet in Washington. They don't meet as a group. They meet in the state they live in that they're representing. In other words, Colorado people are in Colorado, not Washington. We screw up when they go to Washington. This is not a popular vote. This is not something that everybody's supposed to get together and connive. People are by themselves in their state in a room. That's what that says. Then it says they shall select. It says vote, but the word vote to us today is nominate. They're not really voting, they're nominating. Okay? They're nominating. It says that they'll vote by ballot for two people. Two. In other words, we have 4 electors here, 6 electors here in Utah. So 2 means 12 names will be submitted by those 6 electors. Now, one of those electors can be out of the state, or both can be out of the state, but one must be out of the state, because that's what the next line, of whom one at least shall not be an inhabitant of the state with themselves. Okay? Then it goes on to say that each one of those will do their nomination. And you got Bill and Harry and Mike and Sue. Okay, they're the nominations. And we add up how many Sue gets and how many Bill gets and how many Mike gets, whatever it is. They add it up there in the state. Has not gone to the government, federal government yet. It's being tallied in the state. Then they turn around and send that tally to the Senate pro tem. Okay, he gets it. It's not opened. It's sealed. He's got that there and it's sealed. Now the House and the Senate meet together and then they open the ballots. At this moment, nobody in the whole United States has any idea of who even might be elected. There's been no campaigning. Nobody's asked any questions. Nobody said, I want to be president. Nothing. Right. Nothing has happened. I believe it's the 6th of December, they open, we do our part and we send it to them and they open it in a joint meeting, Senate and House. And then they put up a tally board and they take each state's individuals, and Bill, Sue, and Mike, and John, and whatever come from our state. And so they write those names across the board from the state of Utah. Although they don't care it's from the state of Utah, they just care the names, the nominations. Then they put Colorado's, then they put Ohio's, then they put Hawaii's, then they put New York, and then they put California. And each state will have 2 people nominated by each electoral person, but nobody is meeting in Washington, D.C. Now the tally will come up. There are today 535 people there. There should be more, but according to the Constitution, there should be over 10,000. But there aren't. There are 435. That was changed in 1929 with no authority at all. They just said, we're just going to have 435 in the House. and 100 senators. That was done without authority, and that's where we are today. So there are 535. That adds to 1,070. That's how many names should be there. That means half is, I don't know, what is that, 5? Well, half is 535. Yes. Aha. Okay, so we have 535 is the middle point. Okay, middle point. They tally it. If nobody comes to more than 535, then let me start that over again. They tally it. One person, let's say Jim, comes to 612. Okay, the tally for the president is done. 612, he is now nominated to be president. If Jim, instead of getting 612, gets 401, then we have to, he's got the most, then we have to look at at all of them, and they choose the top 5. Okay, because nobody has the top person does not have a majority of the votes. The majority of the votes would be more than 535. So it's difficult to read even in the Constitution, because there's all these different ways it's done. But it means this: if the guy has more than 535, then he's nominated president. If he doesn't have more, then we have to choose the top 5, and that goes to the House, and each state in the House gets 1 vote, and they vote about who of those 5 will be the president. But the point I'm trying to make here is there is no popular vote, and nobody has prepared to vote for anybody. It's all done by the electors that we have selected, and they make the nominations, and the tally's done in Washington, and it's over. There's nothing more to do.
So the John Q. Citizen, he plays no role in this whole
No,
deal.
there's no popular vote. John Q. Citizen does not vote for the president. We are a republic. We're not a democracy. I don't know why we can't get that idea out of our heads. We are a republic. Republic means we select people to represent us in the government body. That's what republic means. We are not a democracy. A democracy just means 2 wolves and 1 sheep deciding what's for dinner. Now that's true democracy. We're going to eat that goat. That's what democracy is.
So when I know you mentioned this change, first was Washington, then was Adams president, and then
Those
the third one
those are the
was,
only 3 elections that were held properly. Washington and Adams, period.
and then Jefferson ran. He ran for president, and he
campaigned, and they had all kinds of newspaper articles, and they did not use the Electoral College properly. Did not. The politicians took over.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Well,
and we lost the Constitution. In 1800, they took this book and threw it out the door.
So there was a political party, I think, called Federalists, was the Federalists, and then the other
Whigs
was
were there. Yeah, there were some
and
parties
the other
there.
was Democratic Republicans, actually, was Jefferson's party.
All kinds of weird names. It's not right. It's not right. We screwed it up in 1800 and have never been back.
So the Democratic Republicans have split
It's just
that.
a fancy way to say democracy.
Yeah, they're trying to make that sound like that is democracy, but in reality, they are not democracy. They're actually installing people without any vote at all. And I just trying to stick to the facts. But I think what you did, you just read us what was from Article 2. This talks about how the Electoral College is supposed to function. And if I could just summarize very
it's
quickly.
In Section 2, Section 1, Paragraph 3 of the Article 2. Article 2, Section 1, Paragraph 3. And so anybody can get a constitution and read it. Now, they have bars around it saying that was changed by the 12th Amendment. The 12th Amendment did change it. Illegally, it's not proper, but they did change it. But the only thing they changed is 2 lists instead of 1. That's all it did. Everything else stayed the same. Nothing was changed. They still meet in the state. They still select 2 people, but it's for two lists rather than 1.
Yeah, I understand. But I think maybe that what people don't understand, and it's taken me a long time to try to grab onto this, is that this is not a mirror of the popular vote. This electoral college, as they're using it, trying to use it now, that
No,
you
we've
take the
screwed that up. We don't use the Electoral College today at all correctly. Not one bit. It is not correct. It is not the Electoral College. It's something else. The Electoral College is outlined in the Constitution. If you change from the Constitution, it is not an Electoral College. It's a farce. And that's where we are today. And that's where we are starting in 1800.
All right. So as you had outlined it, if I can briefly summarize it, and then we'll move on to your book about banking. But from what I've read and understand, and what the Constitution says, there are a certain group of people in each state called electors, and they are chosen different methods, different means according to each state by the state constitution, by legislature, or somewhere appointed. But there's a certain number of electors in each state that will nominate and write down names of people they want for president and people they want for vice president. There are 2 lists. Yeah, so this is how it is written in the book. The Constitution has not been canceled, changed, eliminated, or anything, but they will do this in their chosen state, their home state, on a chosen day, like December 6th, everybody on the same day in their state, and then they write down the results, certify that that is their results, and send that to the Speaker, Pro Tem of the Senate, and he opens that in joint session of Senate and House. They tally it up, and the majority winner for president becomes president, and vice president is chosen from the vice president list, majority winner. Is that correct?
Well, that's what the 12th Amendment says. That's not correct, but that's what the 12th Amendment says. You see, Ted, this is very important. The Black's Law Dictionary defines things. It defines an amendment. Now you have amendments to court and you have amendments to contracts in that definition. Anybody can look it up. It's under amendments in Black's Law Dictionary. That says that an amendment cannot change the essence of the contract. The Constitution is a contract between the states, the people, and the federal government.
Right.
That's the contract. You can't change that, period. You can add things that aren't covered. You can correct things if there are errors, but you cannot change it. Therefore, the 12th Amendment is null and void. It is not constitutional. It is not a part of the Constitution, legally, according to law.
Okay, but it is still the main body. Article 2 does outline still the procedure for the
Yes,
electoral.
and that's the only procedure that's legal, is what's in the Constitution itself. 12th Amendment is not legal.
All right. Well, so let's say that again. Then that's the only procedure for electing president and vice president.
That's the only procedure. There are no 2 lists. There are 1 list. There is 1 list, not 2. That's how the Constitution says it.
But the main point is there's no voting by the public for president.
That's the main point. That's right.
Most important, and nobody knows that. Nobody knows.
The public does not elect the president, period.
Well, that's what they say they're going to do November 5th.
Well, I know that's what they say they're going to do, but it's not constitutional. It never has been constitutional. After 1796, no election of the president has been proper. Not one time, ever.
Yeah. All right. Well, All right, so we're in a heck of a mess then.
Oh, yes, we are. And that's why we're in a mess in the election. It's because we don't follow the Constitution. Oh, they mouth around that they're getting electors, and the electors all do their thing, and all that's all garbage. They don't do anything. It's not right. None of that's in the Constitution anywhere, not even in the 12th Amendment. Nowhere. Even though the 12th Amendment is null and void, even if we accepted it, what we do today is not even the 12th Amendment. And there's no other amendment to the election process.
Okay, so the news people and all of their election night with their fancy boards, and they say it's red or it's blue, the state going for so-and-so, that for the other one, then we get so many electoral votes because of that. That ain't really the way it's kept score. That it's not at all close. That's
It's not close. It's not right. It's not close. It's not constitutional. It's every election we've had has been illegal. Okay.
Yeah.
The supreme law is the Constitution. If we violate the supreme law, it's illegal.
Well, so in 1800, Jefferson got elected by a razor-thin margin on the Electoral College. And so from then on, it's been political parties running the show.
Even in the 1800, it was political parties running it.
Okay, but in any case, that was the Electoral College, but somehow
No, it wasn't.
it wasn't.
No, it's a bastardized deal already. As soon as the popular vote started, it was a bastard program.
Well, so why are we still doing this? Is the
Because
question.
nobody cares about the Constitution or knows it.
Well, my.
And that's in a nutshell exactly right. In this United States, nobody cares, especially in Washington, D.C. Nobody cares about the Constitution. They're sure they hold their hand up and swear they're going to follow it. Yeah, they do, but they don't.
Well, we care about the Constitution
We
here.
care about the Constitution.
And
The number that cares is such a small percentage you can't see it on a chart.
Well, there's a lot of talk right now that, everybody now is coming out saying, we're not going to accept this. We're not going to certify it. If so-and-so wins, we don't like it. If we don't like it, we're not going to play ball.
Well, you know what you just said? After the election, if you don't like what it is, you're going to back out and take your stuff and go after the election. That's all garbage. You don't do that. If you're going to not certify, you start out that way right at the beginning, not afterwards. I mean, this is all garbage. We don't do anything right.
Yeah. Well, so how can we get the word to our so-called representatives in Washington? How can we impress on them they need to follow the Constitution for once? And maybe we won't have all of this crisis. Or let me ask you, maybe they want the crisis? Do you think that might be?
Yes. Yeah, the people that want you got to remember, we've all got to remember something. Our government doesn't function by itself.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't. There are people that are different than not even in our country that are controlling our government and every other government in the world almost. Guys, there's a group of people that we don't even believe exists. It's called the Illuminati. Nobody even believes it exists. It does exist, okay? Even George Washington knew it was there. They knew it was. On the back of the $1 bill, they have the symbol of the Illuminati. What do you mean it doesn't exist? That pyramid is the Illuminati pyramid. They did it. They put it there. It's on the back of our $1 bill. It's been around since before the Constitution was written. Started in 1776. May the 1st of 1776, the Illuminati started, and it has never gone away. All that's been done, all that's happened is it's hidden better and better. That's all. They control us. They decide. The Council on Foreign Relations decides who you get to vote for. They meet in the Pratt House in New York City and decide who you get to vote for. Period. You don't decide. The Electoral College doesn't decide. The Democrat Party doesn't decide. The Republican Party doesn't decide. The Council on Foreign Relations decides. And they decide that whenever they want to. That's why we're so upset with Trump. Trump never followed the rules. He said, I'm going to do it no matter. Well, the Illuminati doesn't like that, and that's why everybody hates Trump, because the Illuminati hates Trump. And the Illuminati exists. The World Economic Forum is a part of the Illuminati, okay? And the World Economic Forum tells everybody what to do because they get their marching orders from somebody else. It's all done behind the scenes using money as the major focus. And that's it. We don't control our government. Our government doesn't control itself.
Let me just throw in a little log on the fire. I'm looking at the U.S. Code, Title 18, Crimes and Criminal Procedure, Part 1, Chapter 29, Elections and Political Activities, Section 611, Voting by Aliens. Now, are you familiar with the law on voting by aliens?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
These are not space aliens. These are people that come here illegally from across our border. But it says, Section 8, it shall be unlawful for any alien to vote in an election held solely or in part for the purpose of electing a candidate for the office of president, vice president, presidential elector, member of the Senate, member of the House of Representatives, delegate from the District of Columbia, or resident commissioner, unless now this is not good, unless subsection 1, the election is held partly for some other purpose, so they could vote for the other purpose, and 2, aliens are authorized to vote for such other purpose under a state constitution or statute or local ordinance, and 3, voting for such other purposes conducted independently of voting for a candidate for such federal offices. So anyway, basically it's saying that, they have to be separated, and I don't know how they can vote for
Actually, what I just heard you say, Ted, is that they can do whatever they want. That's what the law says.
Well, this is where
unless, you see the word unless, and unless included federal elections. I heard it included. So unless, so what they did is they wrote something and then they wrote in the how to not do it.
Well, then they add also subsection B and C, but I didn't want to read it, but this is the part that makes all of this useless. So yeah, it does not apply to an alien if, 1, each natural parent of the alien, or if their adopted parent was a citizen, or the alien permanently resided in the United States prior to attaining the age of 16. And here's the kicker, the alien reasonably believed at the time of voting in violation of such subsection that he or she was a citizen of the United States. So Wishy makes it so in this. So
that's what I mean. You write a law, and then before you finish it, you write ways to get around it. And that's our government.
Yeah. Well, this is too bad because the Electoral College is our safety net, and they have cut holes in the safety net. Is all gone now.
Yes, apparently. It's all gone. There is nothing. That's why we have all this garbage. If we use the Constitution, there would be no difficulty. Oh, if we use the Constitution, there would be no Articles, Amendment 16 either. We would not be paying income taxes if we use the Constitution.
So you
There's so many things.
All of the amendments are invalid? None of the amendments?
No. All amendments that change the Constitution document. Okay. If an amendment changes the Constitution document, this document, if an amendment changes it, it's not legal. So the parts of the 16th Amendment, all of the 12th Amendment is wrong. All of the 11th Amendment is wrong. The 14th Amendment has parts that are wrong. The 20th Amendment has parts that are wrong. I could go on. There are 8 amendments that are partially or completely null and void. Now the others, they make changes. No, they add to or correct errors. There are no errors, so they add to. For example, the Constitution says nothing about the gender of who will vote. It doesn't say anything about the age of who will vote. So those amendments are proper. You see, that's okay. It's okay if we have things that the Constitution doesn't talk about that we need to do. That's all right. But if the Constitution talks about it and we don't do what it says, that's not right. And Marshall said it right. Anything not in accordance with the Constitution is null and void. Means the 16th Amendment is null and void. The 17th Amendment is null and void. There are 8. There are 8. Either the whole thing or portions of it are null and void. But some, the 17th, the 11th, the 12th, the 16th, and the 17th are completely illegal. Completely. They violate the supreme law of the land. Completely.
Okay.
There's nothing in them that's correct.
Let's move into something that also is very much a source of shock and disbelief. And this is the banking system.
Oh, the banking system. Oh, you guys don't have any idea what the banking system is doing to you.
So tell us, please, your latest book, The Secret Lies, Hidden Lies of Banking.
Yes, Hidden Lies of Banking. Well, let me just basically give a feeling of what's happening in our current society. Banks are established and controlled by a criminal group called the Federal Reserve. Why do I say it's a criminal group? Because it's against the Constitution. The Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 5, says that the federal government, Congress, will be in charge of the value of the money, not some foreign organization or even a domestic organization. They do not have the power in accordance with the supreme law of the land. Therefore, the Federal Reserve is completely null and void. But of course, we don't pay any attention to the Constitution, and they always do things so that they can get it done in the politics of Washington. That was in 1913. They got that one passed. They had to do that by cheating. They did it after everybody left for the Christmas break. Then they all the guys that were still there, then they got together and passed the Federal Reserve Act, and Wilson signed it the next day. Woohoo! And it's done, but it was cheating to do it. Everything is cheating if they want to get it done. Anyway, that's how the Federal Reserve was established.
So
it was established by cheating. The people who didn't want it didn't know that it was going to happen. They got on the train and went home. Bingo. The guys who didn't get on the train and go home stayed, called themselves a quorum, and that was legal. And then they passed an illegal act that established the Federal Reserve. Now, what does the Federal Reserve do? Well, let's just look at one part of it, just one little part of it. Banks make loans. What money do they use? They use the deposit money and they use the capital money to make loans. Okay? When a bank makes a loan, it uses its basic assets as a measuring point of how much they could loan out. That was in the past, before 2020. They only could loan out 90% of the depositor's money. The other 10% they had to keep. In 2020, they even took that away. So now there's no restriction on how much the bank can loan. None at all. Now, the bank has the right, based on the Foreign Reserve, factorial banking, banks have a right to lend out more money than they actually have. Okay, that's how bankings work. If you have, let's say, $1,000, you could loan out 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times that $10,000. There's no limit. So today, there's no limit. So you walk in there to the dealership to buy your car. Okay, you're going to buy this very nice car. It costs $40,000. And I think that's a good price for a car, not $80,000 or 100 or 200. But anyway, let's just say it costs $40,000. And the dealership and you, everybody agrees. What do you do next? You go to the bank, you go to a credit union, you go somewhere to borrow the money to pay for the car. You go in there and you beg and all that, and eventually you get the bank to say, yes, you can buy the car and we'll loan you the money. So what does the bank do then? They write a check. They don't take gold, they don't take dollars, they don't take any real anything to the dealership. They write a check, CHECK, and they take that check, or they do an accounting entry. But they take that check and give it to the dealership. Now the dealership has $40,000. The bank just gave it to them. Did the bank have the $40,000? Oh no. They don't have. They have some money, but they didn't have enough money to cover that 40,000. But they still wrote a check. Okay, they still did. That check now went to the dealer. The dealership can use it, pays the stuff, pays for the car, everything, because that's currency to him. Now you have a debt to the bank, $40,000. You're going to go the first of the next month, and you're going to pay whatever it is. Let's say the requirement is to pay $2,000 a month until the car's paid. That includes interest and principal, which, by the way, doesn't make any difference to the bank. You take that $2,000, you give them a check. What does the bank do with it? They tell you that it's divided in interest and principal. And they tell you that $1,900 of that is principal and $100 of that is interest. The principal goes against the $40,000. This is all garbage. They don't care where it goes. That money belongs to the bank. And they only do that principal and interest statement to keep you not knowing what's going on. The money now belongs to the bank. So the next month you give them another $2,000 and it's theirs, and another two, and another two, and another two, until you've given them $40,000 of real money. You earned that money. That's yours. That's your wealth. You've given that wealth to the bank. The bank has taken it and put it in their vaults, and you don't have it anymore. It's theirs now, all of it. If they didn't charge interest, it wouldn't make any difference. But they do, so they charge interest. So it's not going to be 40,000. It's going to be 41, 42, 43, or whatever. And today, credit cards, you go to the restaurant and you buy a meal for let's say $25. You get a meal and you're happy. You go home. They send that money to the bank, and the bank goes ahead and pays them writes a check, and gives them their $25. But the bank now takes that money and does whatever it wants with it. And they charge you interest now, many of them of 20, 30, 36%. Guys, do you realize that's usury? I mean, 36. They used to put people in jail that did that. Now they don't do that. They let the banks do it. They all do it. They put them in jail. They put people in jail if they wrote that kind of an interest. They call them loan sharks. Yeah, that's what the bank credit card business is. It's a loan shark. It steals your money. A third of every payment you make becomes interest. In their eyes. Now, they don't call it interest. They call it income. But you think it's interest. It's terrible. And that's what's going on. And it's all hidden from us. And that's one part of what Hidden Lies of Banking explains.
All right. Is it possible to ask a question?
I guess so. I'll shut up for a minute.
I want to interrupt your lecture.
Oh, sometimes it's not possible. Go ahead.
I just want to ask you, please. All right. I understand a lot of this except one thing. The bank sends a check to the dealership for the payment for the automobile. But when they cash that at the dealership, where does that money come from? If the bank doesn't have it, where does the money come from?
It comes from the signature. It is created by your signature on the loan.
Well, I'm not asking right, I guess, because I mean,
it does not come from anywhere. It is fictitious money in the clouds. Doesn't come from anywhere.
Okay, but the money to the dealer, it has to turn into money somehow for him.
It turns into money because the bank gave it to him and said it was.
And my question is, where does the bank, I mean, how do they make that check good? They taking your deposit money? What do they do?
No. They just do it. Ted, they just do it. I
They
mean,
don't-
if I had a printing press in my basement and I just printed $5 bills over and over and over and over and over and over, and I spend them, where did that money come from? That's the
you're,
same question you're asking.
you're printing press, you know,
Do I have the authority to make that money? No, they'll throw me in jail. Does the bank have the authority to make that money? Yes, they do. The Federal Reserve gave them that privilege, and the government, the federal government of the United States, told the Federal Reserve they could do it. But the money doesn't really exist.
Okay, where do they get the green bills that they get when they hand over the check? The dealership hands it to the bank.
Well, it's a check. There's no green bills. It's a check.
So they just get credit in their ledger book or whatever they want
Yes,
to
they
call
write it
it.
in their ledger book. The
Their
minute
account.
that they get the check, the bank has told them they have money. So they do, and they use it.
So this is all just fictitious numbers and run with no real currency or any value.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Fiat money. Fiat money.
Fiat is the word that we use. Fiat means it doesn't really exist.
Well, Fiat is a car in Italy, car maker, but
Well, maybe it doesn't exist either. No, bottom line here. Now let's make sure we understand something here. The banks have the authority to make that to write that check given to them by the federal government through the Federal Reserve. They have the authority to use that as money. The banks do. So they do. But in fact, they don't have any money in the vault to do it. They just do it. Well, that goes on in the Federal Reserve the same exact way. Okay, the government borrows from the Federal Reserve. Maybe it borrows $1 billion. So the Federal Reserve guys go down in the basement and they write out a note for $1 billion, and they call that money. They just wrote it. They call that money. And then they tell the federal government, you got $1 billion. Now here's the note. You do that. You sign the note. Now you have $1 billion. And what does the federal government do with that? It gives it to the banking system through the people. And the banking system take that $1 billion and makes it into a 20 trillion. And that's the system that we're doing today. We think we have a debt of $30 trillion or some such thing like that to the federal government. No, we haven't. That the debt we have to the federal government is almost all the currency that exists. But the other side to it, they're notes. We call them notes. Okay, we call them bills. It's a bill. We have a $5 bill, right? A bill is a credit. A bill is a credit. It's not a debit, it's a credit. That means that the Federal Reserve owes you $5. You don't owe them because the word means that they owe you. That's what it means. They call it a bill. That's what it means. It's not a credit, it's a debit. I'm sorry, it's very confusing to me too. But bottom line is they use the wrong word for the currency. The currency is all written up as if it was money, but it isn't. It's a debt. The Federal Reserve has the debt, not us. That's amazing. But that's just wordplay. That's not. The real answer is the Federal Reserve calls it a debt and we pay interest on it. Yes, we do. We pay interest on it, whatever the Federal Reserve wants us to pay. Notice the Federal Reserve decides the interest rate. The Federal Reserve is controlling our every move, and they're a complete illegal organization. And that's what this book, Hidden Lies of Banks, talks about. It outlines what's going on, and that's just one little part, although it's not really little, it's major. But that's how it's done. Now let me just say something more on the subject. This is a little different, but it's something that comes to my mind. You guys, you the audience, you go out and you buy gold. Do you really? No. You go to a place that sells you some gold. Good. Do you get the money, the specie, the gold itself in your hand? No, they give you a receipt for it, don't they? You've bought shares. You've bought some gold shares. You've bought shares in a gold mine. They call it gold. They're selling shares of gold. How much gold really exists? You don't want to know. 5 or 6 years ago, a fellow who was very skillful at this kind of thing did an analysis. He was a radio announcer, he did podcasts, we call them today. He did a radio show, and he analyzed how much gold was really out there. And it turned out that in that day, and that's several years ago, not today, several years ago, in that day, there was $190 of gold stock or gold stuff for every $1 of real gold. It's worse than that today. It's probably $500 of gold stock for every real dollar of gold. What does that mean? That means that there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that are going to go and get gold from their storage place and discover there isn't any there. All they bought is fiat gold. If you don't have the gold in your hand, you don't have any gold. It's fiat gold, just like the currency is fiat currency. Yeah, it's the same thing exactly. If you buy gold, silver, any of those things, make sure you have it in your hand. You keep the specie in your hand. Don't take a stock. Don't take a certificate. Don't take something that says, you own $1,000 in gold. There it is. You can see it. No, you don't. Not unless you have $1,000 in gold in your hand. I just thought I'd add that. It's exactly the same thing that Ted asked me about money. Where does it come from? Where is that gold? It doesn't exist. Where's the money? It doesn't exist. It's the same. Exactly. It's just two different functions of what's going on in our country that we're being abused with.
Well, at the risk of elevating everybody's blood pressure even higher, I'd like to ask one other fine institution. We have the Internal Revenue Service.
Oh, it's a lying, cheating, illegal organization.
Where does that money go to that gets in every April 15th?
Well, the theory is that the IRS collects it and gives it to the federal government, but the IRS is a commercial private enterprise. It's not a government organization. They collect the money from us. They say they give it to the federal government, and the federal government pretends like they get it, but I don't know if they do.
So they're like at McDonald's, they're a corporation, you mean?
Yes.
Business.
They're a business, a legal business, just like the Federal Reserve is a legal business because the government made it so, not because it's acting that way. You and I did the same things that throw us in jail, but they've got permission from the federal government to do it.
So they're just a name like Federal Express, the Federal Reserve. They're not federal and they're not a reserve. They're just a
That's right. Exactly. The Federal Reserve has no money whatsoever. None. Zero. Not one item. The Treasury prints the money. The Treasury has the money. Really? But they print Federal Reserve notes for the Federal Reserve. Notice that? The Federal Reserve says print some notes, and the Treasury doesn't. Did the Federal Reserve give them money so they could print that? No. Did not. They just said print it. So they do.
Well, they're keeping the books though, so they're collecting.
Now, let me mention another item here that escapes most everybody. Now, this is an economics situation. Now, I don't know if Ted. I have a PhD in economics. I got some information. I got some knowledge in economics. Okay.
Yeah.
We had a depression in the 1930s. Everybody thinks it was caused by the stock market crash in 29. Not so. There's no ratio to that at all. There's no tie. In 1930, we were already recovering from the 1929 fiasco. That was caused by the Federal Reserve too, by the way. But let's not worry about that. It happened. It happened. That market collapsed. People lost their shirts. Oh, they lost and lost and lost. And so they were told that caused the depression. Not so. Did not. What caused the depression was the banking system destroyed money. Remember, I talked about creating. Now they destroyed some. They destroyed money. And when you don't have enough money, then depressions and recessions occur. If you don't have enough money, I discuss in detail in my volume 6 Liberty series book. If you don't have enough money, then a depression begins. And if they destroy more and more and more money, then the depression gets worse and worse. Now, we started to come out of the depression in 1937, so they destroyed some more money, and we didn't. It was done by the Federal Reserve and the banking system destroying money. That's why we had the depression of the 1930s. They destroyed money. And anytime they want us to have a recession or a depression, they destroy money, and we do it. An interesting thing also, another interesting thing about this, the stock market collapsed really badly in 1929. Did you know in 1987, it collapsed worse than it did in 1929? The stock market in 1987 collapsed more by ratios than the stock market in 1929 collapsed. But there was no depression. Why? Because no money was destroyed. The government left it alone. They didn't do anything. And the economy came around and went on, fixed itself and went on. Had they done the same thing in 1929, there would have been no depression in the 1930s. We have two exact examples of what happens when the government gets involved and when it doesn't. 1987, it didn't. The economy went along fine. In 1929, it did. There's your answer, guys. Government's involvement. 1929, Federal Reserve did it. Yeah, they did it. Yes, they did. Nobody did it anything like that after 1987, so it didn't collapse and we didn't have a depression.
Well, all the trillions that are now getting printed as we speak in the basement somewhere, there's another trillion supposedly that they need to spend by January, the incumbent people. But this is generating the inflation, right? I mean,
yes. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. People say if we just had a gold standard, we wouldn't have inflation. It would be all right. Everything would be fine. Nope. Sorry, guys. Gold is just wealth. It's not money. It's just wealth. I know that's an interesting concept. It's a commodity. If the United States could, and they went out there and they gathered every dollar that exists, every ounce of gold that exists in the entire world, and every ounce of silver that exists in the entire world, they gathered it all and they put it in Fort Knox to back our currency. We'd only have 10% or less of our currency backed. What happens to the other 90%? If we have to go back, we just destroyed it. Guess what that means? A huge depression. That's what that means. So if we sit back and we nod our heads and say, if we just had a gold standard backed by gold, we'd be okay. If we did that, we'd have a depression the likes you've never seen, because they would destroy 90% of our money because they haven't got enough gold to back it. Oh, let's just raise the price of gold, then we'll have enough. Nope. Raise the price of gold, raise the price of everything. Everything works together. There's no fairyland here. There's no magic wand. It all works together. Don't let any economist tell you different. They will if they're in the government payroll. Did you hear that? They will tell you different if they're on the government payroll or they get government grants. They will tell you different.
So the way out, what is the way out of this bottomless pit?
Oh, the way out of to back our money is to use honest government using production as the base. That's what's valuable. If you make tables, that's production. That's an item. We should be gauging our money supply by the items we produce or mine or do. Service produces money, produces wealth. It really is something. When we do things, create things, that's production. That's what should be backing our money, because production is the key to the society. Think about this. Here's a guy, there's two people here in this valley. On one side of the valley, the west side, this dude has gold in his basement. Oh, and silver. He can't even get in the basement. There's so much gold and silver there. And everybody thinks he's just really wealthy. Oh, look at that. Look at all that wealth. Oh, my, what a businessman. What great stuff. Now, on the other part of the valley, there's this guy who is a farmer. Now, nobody cares about him. He's just an old farmer. But he grows stuff. And he preserves it really well. And he keeps that in his basement. Along comes a famine. Oh, my, there's no food. But farmer has food. The other guy has gold. So the guy takes the gold over to the farmer to buy food. The farmer says, nope, won't sell it. You can't get it, can't have it. Who's the wealthy guy now? The guy with the food in his basement, not the guy with the gold in his basement. Gold is a commodity. It is not wealth. It is not money. If we deem it to be money, then it is. Okay, yes. Again, if we deem the gold to be money and everything is, then we're only going to have 10% of the currency we have in existence, and we will have a depression of the likes of you've never seen. This is all economics. People don't know that because they don't know about economics. They don't learn about what money is and what it does, what gold is and what it does. Gold and silver are just a commodity. That's all they are. They're not wealth. You can't eat gold.
Well, this is obviously things you learn at your institute, Provost Institute for Economics.
Oh, yes. These are the kinds of things I teach in my institute. Yes.
And I saw the term political economics. Can you define that, please? What's
political economics is studying the politics, how economics affects the politics. That's what I was talking about, the dollar amount. See, that's political economics. There's also other kinds of economics. That's the capital that people use to build their stores or to do their stores, and all that's economics also. There's just all kinds of veins of it. Political economics is a portion that speaks about how government uses economics to get us. And that's the Federal Reserve and the money and all that. That's political economics. Regular economics is supply and demand. If we want something enough, we'll pay for it. If we don't want it, we won't pay for it. Therefore, there's no demand for it. If there's no demand for something, don't make it, because you won't get paid for it because you can't sell it. There's a lot of demand for something, make lots of it. That's what the supply and demand is all about. That's other part of economics. Oh, there's more to economics than just one or two things. Lots of stuff. It's a all-encompassing. Economics is the term, the concept of everything that you do in your lives is economics related. And nobody studies it. Nobody knows what economics is because it was a hard class. Well, I know it's a hard class. Yes, I understand that. Because they use all kinds of buzzwords that they make up at the moment. The teachers want to make sure you know that they're more intelligent than you, so they ask questions you can't answer. Oh, yeah. My wife has a book, a basic economics book for a first-year student. Never had economics before. The first chapter in that book talks about the law of comparative advantage. I have a PhD. I know what the law of comparative advantage is. I cannot answer the questions at the last chapter of her book. That's the kind of stuff they do in economics classes, why people are afraid of economics. I can't answer the questions in that section, the first chapter of the first book of economics they were teaching her in the school she went to. I can't answer those questions. How can he expect anybody else to answer those questions? They cannot. And that's good, because then he becomes more important. And that's why economics is so hard. No other reason.
Anybody in Washington can answer those questions, or did they
Well, they
drop?
can't answer them either. No, nobody can. The
So,
law of comparative advantage is actually quite simple. You do that which is best for you. That's all it is. You do that which is best for you. That's the law of whatever I said, comparative advantage.
so
You always
politically,
do that which is best for you. You can make good tables. You make good tables. That's best for you. Don't do plumbing. That's not best for you. Somebody else is going to do plumbing. And plumbing and tables is production. And that's where our value is. The value is in what we do, not gold, not silver, not how much gold you've got. No, no, no. The value of our money is in what we do with it, what we use it for, what it is. Gold isn't wealth. If you
well,
can't sell the gold, you haven't got any wealth.
they talk
Period.
about the government paying for things. That's an oxymoron. I guess like political economics, it's a magic show. It
Well,
you just
yeah, I studied that too, so I know the magic also. I took a class. I took a class in my master's program called How to Lie with Statistics.
okay.
Fascinating class. How to Lie with Statistics. And it was a really fun class because we figured out how to lie with statistics. Statistics you'd think would be a precise thing,
Mhm.
but you can lie with it. Let me just explain one of the ways they lie with it, just really quickly. They put a chart up here and they have numbers on the chart and they say it's this much. But what they've done, what they do in the chart is that they make big up and down movements on a chart that if you saw the whole chart, it would be teeny, teeny lines, but you don't see the whole chart. You see only a portion of it. That's all they show you. And you see those big lines going up and down. Therefore, you think those are really a lot and they think they're really a little. And they use that concept to tell you what should happen. But what they've done is they've changed the chart so that it looks like those things are important. But in reality, the line is teeny, teeny, those up and down curves, not this. It's not up and down big like that. It's eeny beeny. You think it's big. It isn't. It's little. That's lying with with statistics. It's done all the time. All the time. It's done.
Well, we will hope that we'll get someone who knows and understands this form of doing business. And thank you for explaining that. And it's been quite a ride. This has been a roller coaster. I hope we have some people still with us, but I know more would like to hear this. And would you come back again soon and expand some more on this?
Anytime you want, just ask questions.
That'd be
Talk,
wonderful.
and I'll talk and I'll talk and I'll talk. Just ask a question. You won't get another word in.
Well, you have something worth listening to, and I thank you for that. And tell us again where we could find you, get your books, and
My books are all on my website, which is provisinstitute.com. Provis is Pro, like pro, VIS. Provis, PROVIS at Solmega. Now you guys know about mega. That's great big stuff. Mega, MEGA. And Sul is the sun in many languages. Okay. I use the word Sul, SUL, mega. Big Sulmega.com. Very simple, really. SULMEGA. Huge stuff. The sun is a huge thing. See, that's it. SULMEGA.com. Provis, Provis, PROVIS. All my books are there. All of them. I have podcasts there. My school is there. Everything I do is there.
well, we're going to look for that. And thank you for your time. And I'm still digging into your books. Have been quite an education, and I pray that people here would wake up and realize that there's more to this than just putting the credit card in the machine and money appears somewhere. So I hope that will last, but I don't know if it's going to last very long. But thank you, though.
You know, if they get money as into computers, computer money, if they actually do get that, you'll have no control of anything in your money. No control at all, nothing. If they actually get all the money digitized, you'll have nothing. That's what will happen. You will have nothing.
We'll come back next week and tell us about that, how we
Yep.
could prepare. I think people are getting nervous as we're approaching November the 5th. Maybe we can help get people a little bit prepared. But thank you. Thank you, Doctor, and God bless you. And just as always, I know you agree that we want to give glory to Jesus, and he said, store up your treasures in heaven where rust and moth don't corrupt and thieves don't break through and steal.
That's
And,
right. Ted, one more comment. The book Liberty of Hidden Lies of Banking has the answer to the question in it. The answer to the banking question is in the book Hidden Lies of Banking. What to do. Simple too, not hard at all.
All right. Well, I'm going to flip to the end here right away and get on that right away. So thank you, Doctor, and bless you all and the nice folks in Utah. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you, yes, sir. So we're signing off from Honolulu, Hawaii. We thank you for staying with us. I know it's been a little long, but I hope it's been informative. Please let me know in the comments section, and you can find me on the barefootbelievers.com website, barefootbelievers.com, and also my contact information will be in the information part of this video. Thanks everybody. So we say aloha from Hawaii till we meet again. God bless. Thank you all.